Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Talking Mods. On today's video, we're going to do a Q&A. Basically, I'm going to answer some of the questions from our previous EPA video. There were a lot of comments, and I really want to try to give you guys some of the answers as best as I can. So let's jump into it. Hey guys, so the EPA video, thank you guys for those who watched it, and it did really well for us, and it's continuing to grow, and a lot of people are very interested, again, because it's a hot topic in the industry. Right now, you know, guys, we're trying to make a lot of different videos. We're going to be experimenting with different things you guys like. If you like a certain video, please comment and let us know. But we're going to keep on giving you guys content about the industry, about different subjects. And one of the things I really wanted to do, kind of my mission statement in creating my company, Mod Bargains, is to help you guys as enthusiasts, to take the veil off of it, to show you guys the reality of things. I'm not a YouTuber. I'm not here to go yell at you and try to build some weird car and try to get you guys, you know, hey, my car broke down. I'm not gonna do that. I'm here to show you guys the reality of this industry, and I hope that helps you guys in making the right choices, the right products, and to really understand this industry and to make this industry better so that we all gain from it. So, and again, I'm using 17 years of my experience as owning this company and navigating through it, and I continue to navigate. It's still current. I'm still the CEO of the company, and you know, I've had some experience before, obviously, starting the company. So please, I hope the next Q&A will actually be more about other subjects as well. So we'll start off with, howdy there, partner. Can someone explain to me why you shouldn't be fined for not complying with guidelines given by the EPA? I would assume that if you're running a serious business that you would be kept very up to date on all restrictions and laws pertaining to your trade. It's the same deal with OSHA and health inspections. If you're using parts that mess with the emissions, you're in direct violation of the Clean Air Act. That isn't targeting, that is complete oversight by the manufacturer and the shop installing these into vehicles. Great question. First of all, as a company, we really didn't do anything wrong. And if you own a business or have ever owned a business, nobody hands you a book that says, here are all the guidelines and here's everything that you should know. And nobody in our industry was complying with it. So we did comply. We actually never installed any downpipes or anything like that. Once, you know, I was aware of the laws and everything else, we made sure to stay away from it. Now, there are some gray areas, and it's a very difficult situation. So the reason that I created the video was to inform people, not only people who are retailers, but the consumers who could be targeted, and the manufacturers. The manufacturers were not even aware of this until people like myself in our shop, because we're kind of high profile, we got targeted, right? So all of a sudden, every single manufacturer started scrambling. They're like, Mod Bargains got hit, okay. Vivid Racing got hit. Jegs got hit. Hey, we have been telling people that it's okay. And every manufacturer would tell us, hey, if you put off-road use only and so forth, it's okay. Negligence of the law doesn't work. It doesn't work in a court of law, right? So the reality is I'm never going to know every single piece of law. You and I and everybody else will not know it. We do our best. And that's what videos like this is, to inform people and to help you out with. Great question. Thank you. I'm going to jump into the next one. Marco ZR. But can we build our motors? What about superchargers? I don't understand. Another good question. Yes, we can build our motors as long as they get certified. Superchargers in particular are a lot easier than turbochargers. I did a video. We can put a picture up. Superchargers and turbochargers. One of the easier things for superchargers is to get certified. Just a lot easier. Turbochargers just produce a lot more emissions. Not necessarily. Again, it comes down to the tune for that supercharger or the turbocharger. And once it has that certification, you can put it on your car. So if it has a car BO number, you can run it on your daily street-driven car. Most of the manufacturers are very up to date on it, including Edelbrock, Magnuson, Vortech, Procharger. I mean, these are some of the big ones that we work with on a daily basis, and the majority of them have car BO numbers. There's some other ones I forgot to say. So if you really need help with picking out the right one that is approved, just hit us up at Mod Bargains. Nope wrote. So what does that mean? You saying police are going to go pull over every car that's modded and hand them a $40K fine? What the Okay. Sorry, I don't mean to curse. So, is the police going to go and do that? No, the police are going to work usually with the state. So, the Air Resource Board is in multiple states, and that's what's called being refed. So you'll see videos, hey, I got a fine, and that's called being state refed. Not every state enforces this. There's plenty of states that don't enforce it. California definitely enforces it. It's being adopted, and you're going to see a lot of these states continue to adopt it because I think the Air Resource Board, I mentioned in the last one exactly how many. I think it's getting close to 40 states have already are trying to adopt the Air Resource Board, and it's only going to continue. It just depends on how strict that state becomes with it, right? Those are the people that are giving you those fines. Can the EPA now go and give you a $40,000 fine? Yeah, they can, but they really only do it to people who've been obnoxious about it, who have been blatant about it. Again, they don't have the ability to go and enforce this all across. They are just doing it if that person has been blatant and has been a problematic person, like I mentioned in the previous video. So, do you have to worry about the $40K fine? It's a potential. You have that potential to be a $40K fine. Most likely you'll have a state fine. But again, if things go further with it, it could eventually lead to that, is what I want to make sure that it's clear out there. So, Rick Kletecki, is this how the government gets the gasoline-powered vehicles off the road? One day they will say your classic car is illegal and gas-powered vehicles are outlawed. What do we do then? No, this isn't the way they get those cars. I mean, they'll get gasoline-powered cars off that way, right? I mean, California is trying to go 2030. He's trying to force that. I think Biden's trying to do something as well where they're trying to enforce electric cars. But that's not how we get... These cars will not be illegal. To say that these cars will be illegal is not correct. Now, if they're modified and they're producing emissions that the EPA does not allow, then they would be considered illegal. But if we're talking about, hey, I have a gas car from 1970, 80s, whatever, it's going to be fine. Now, there is a new law that's at the House at the moment. They're trying to pass, I believe SEMA is really pushing for this. We'll try to maybe post it up and I'll put a link up. It's going for, I believe, vehicles up to 1984 would be exempt, just like the previous law. Hopefully, again, we can, as time progresses, they'll allow other cars to be exempt in the future. There's not that many cars on the road, the older classic cars, but they're not going to be illegal. So I wouldn't think of it that way. Good question. Thank you, Rick. All right. Next one. Ross Carver. So just don't keep customer records to protect your customers. Okay, I know what he's referring to. In the previous video, I talked about how they got customers' information. That's not going to be possible. I mean, all businesses these days are keeping customer records. I mean, we're not in the Stone Age. Customer records have been kept hundreds of years. I mean, it's not even just with the digital format, but we also, you have warranties, you have accounting systems. Yeah, you could have it in paper, but again, when they come after it, if you're going to be a legal abiding citizen, you do provide that information. So that's not something that's possible, obviously. Hopefully that explains that. All right, let's jump into the next one. Jeff B. We're screwed is what you're saying. No, I don't think we're screwed. I think we just have to change with the times, right? And I think we have to make a better law is what I've been getting at. I mentioned that there's the RPM Act. So the RPM Act, I think it doesn't go far enough. And I really kind of want to address that because I think there's a lot of questions about the RPM Act. The RPM Act, again, is only for race cars. So it's allowing race cars to be modified. SEMA, I believe, said there's only 196,000 race cars that are registered. I don't know if that's an accurate number. I don't know how they got that number. I don't know how old that information is. I don't think it's that many, personally. So race cars are allowed to be modified. Again, that's only going somewhat into the battle there, but Let me be clear about this. The EPA has never, even when they were working, when they came at us, anything that was registered as a race car, the EPA left alone. So all these other videos that are talking about race cars being targeted and Save Our Race Cars, they're not targeting it, especially if the car's been registered as a race car. So they're leaving sanctioned races and cars that are like that off the radar here, guys. It'd be nice to have a bill that protects it. So that's why I do support the RPM Act, but I think the RPM Act is a step forward for us to begin at least a dialogue in how about the street cars, right? Because most cars, people who go to the track cannot trailer it. I mean, to go get a truck just to trailer your car, that's expensive. And racing in itself is a very expensive hobby. So to expect people to be able to do that is problematic in itself. I think that's where the dialogue needs to happen. RPM Act is one nice step, and we've included those links for you guys to sign up, and I appreciate that. We support it, but we also want to go further where, we need to communicate. We need to communicate on, hey, what's illegal, what's not illegal. How do we get more of these products passed for the consumers? How do we make sure that the industry is cleaned up correctly and that people don't have an issue and nobody's going to get fined? Not only the shops don't get fined who are installing it, the retailers and the consumers don't get fined. So you have to go deeper into this. No, we're not screwed, Jeff. I think power performance products right now are on the target. They are maybe a little bit more screwed, but I mean, there's a lot more fun to be had with cars and modifying them. Okay. John Dudas, if I want to build another car again, this is not to be a daily driver, just to have fun on the weekends. I already have a daily car. I just want to have fun on it with the weekends. Will they bother someone like me if I build a car like that again? Again, what I was just saying is if the car is registered as a race car, they will leave you alone. You don't have to worry about that. If the car is a fun weekend car, you could be bothered by it, right? So again, I would just suggest pick the products that have car BO numbers. You can make your car very fun. It just depends how far you need to go with horsepower, right? And how far you need to push the power. So there's a lot of great high horsepower cars coming out from manufacturers for your next car. You can do everything else. If you want to stay away from that with the power side, consider doing that. All right. Coyote Life. Just race cars isn't enough. I don't never have and barely know anybody who has trailered non-registered race cars. That's what I was talking about. I don't see myself ever getting one either. This is about street cars and bikes for me. I don't think the industry is going to sell all these parts and do all the tuning for track-only race cars because there just isn't that many people that just strictly have a track-only car. Cody Life, this is exactly what I'm talking about. I don't think there's that many cars, and I think what I worry about is exactly the same thing. Getting certification, this high cost that the EPA and, in a previous video I said, Holly, like how big did these companies need to have? They have to have a lot of resources and money to get those kind of certifications. So there needs to be some give and play here. Maybe smaller companies can have a fair chance, up to a certain point. It's got to be a open dialogue. I agree with you. Otherwise, tuning will eventually die. I think tuning as in general is going to be very hard for places that you drive up to and then they take your car and they tune it because that's very specific per vehicle. So race cars just isn't enough and the RPM Act doesn't go enough. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, I mean, those part sales for us, because we stopped selling it, we've had a big decline. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, not gonna lie about it. Any retailer who has complied, there's plenty of retailers who don't comply, guys. But any retailer who does comply with these, rules, we've seen dramatic losses in our revenue, and that's the effect that the EPA had. And we just told these manufacturers, hey, I can't sell your parts, and this continuously happens, and we shift, we change. All right, next one, Bajern FSE. Is this something revolving around decatting? If so, couldn't a solution be to create or formulate a high-performance CAT system that flows better and runs more efficiently? And as such, you can put your headers, downpipes, exhaust systems, and much like how silencers and resonators are sold, you install it on your custom system. Hey, I really don't know, so I'm sounding foolish or maybe not, just asking. Bjorn, actually, great Great thought, actually, and it's something that Cobb is working on. So they're trying to build the first downpipe that's going to be legalized, right? So it's a high flow cat, and it's going to be legalized. Like they can prove that, hey, this is not going to affect the air. They're putting it through all the emissions and all those testing. What's really cool about this, if they can make that high flow cat with that registered one, then other manufacturers Cobb can sell it to other manufacturers, and we'll have those in there. We won't ever have a pure just decatted downpipe or header or whatever. That's not going to happen. But if we have a high flow cat that is approved and still gives us the performance numbers, I think that's the best of both worlds, and that's the compromise. And that's what's great about some manufacturers who have the pockets, who are going up to bat and doing this. Cobb has been one of the few companies that has gone up to bat on this, and I applaud them. I hope they succeed. So it's something that's going on. All right. And one of the questions is, your clock doesn't work. Actually, it's working right now. And it was an Easter egg in there. We actually have other Easter eggs for you guys inside these videos. Obviously, it's just a studio of my office, but it's not my office, actually. It's a studio. And kind of was hoping that maybe time freezes as you watch these videos. But clock is back up and running since you guys caught that one. If you guys catch the other ones, we'll obviously work on them. So, but you'll notice that the clock was changing every single time from video to video. So, yeah, next question. Okay, so another one here is from Greg Brunel. Newbie here. We're all newbies at one point and we all learn, so don't worry about that. Newbie here. But has anyone tried to reach out to car makers to speak up for enthusiasts? Or are they the cause of this issue? Great question. Car makers kind of were the culprit of all this, right? The original EPA, the Clean Air Acts, all this stuff that started in the 60s was really for the car manufacturers who were coming out at that time, right? And to make sure that they met emission standards. These days, car makers are not the ones that are going to be the culprits. Every vehicle is tested, it has proper paperwork, it goes through the government. They have a long process. They do a crash test, they do a bunch of things. Car makers go through so much legislation, and that's what we pay for, right? That's why we pay certain prices for these cars. But for enthusiasts to speak up for us, I mean, there were a lot of great ideas in there. I think one great idea was, hey, we get a popular celebrity to speak up for us. Maybe. I mean, that'd be cool if we had someone who could really talk and communicate with Congress and explain the hobby and try to figure out a compromise. Again, it's going to take things like SEMA, which represents us as the board, to do certain things like that. And that's kind of where my support, that's on the industry side. I think for enthusiasts, all of us, we need to go behind certain people and try to get them to, communicate with the government and communicate with the EPA and say, hey, how do we get our industry there? So it's a great question. Unfortunately, I don't think car makers are going to be the ones that are going to do it. I think they're going to be aware of this because, obviously a car that's modified a lot, and it obviously builds up a secondary market, and it obviously makes the life of that car also longer, and those manufacturers do really well. So I'm sure they're going to be watching this. They're going to be interested. I'm sure we can get their support, but I don't know if they're going to be on the hook here as much as, say, the aftermarket industry is. Guys, we're going to put a lot more questions available as well on our Instagram. Go to the Mod Bargains Instagram. Obviously, we check the YouTube questions, and we're going to try to do some more Q&As with you guys. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. It really does help. I hate asking you guys for that, but it makes a big difference, and your comments always make a difference, and especially the likes. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, and I will see you on the next Talking Mods.